So you've just bought a MacBook for work, but your business uses Microsoft 365, and that means using Outlook for email. Do you want some help getting started? Well, that's what today's video is all about. Plus, towards the end of the video, I've got some awesome productivity hacks that you can use with Outlook on the Mac. So, what are we waiting for? Let me just give you a quick introduction. My name is Jonathan Edwards, also known as the Bearded 365 Guy. Now, I help businesses all over the world with their Microsoft 365. You can get more information at bearded365guy.com. Now, once upon a time, if you wanted to use the Microsoft 365 apps in your business, you were told that you needed a Windows computer. If you dare to suggest that you wanted to use a MacBook, you were ostracized from society. You were asked to sit in a different office, and people used to talk about you like this. Oh, that's Dave. He uses a Mac. But technology moves on. I mean, believe it or not, I used to rent DVDs from Blockbuster. But today, the gap between using an Apple device or a Windows device is getting closer and closer. Now, dare I say it? No, I don't think I dare. Oh, but I will anyway. I would go as far as saying today, if your business uses Microsoft 365, it doesn't matter if you use a MacBook or a Windows device. There, I said it. Now, in last week's video, I showed you how you could configure Microsoft 365 so when you logged onto your Mac computer, you could do so with your Microsoft 365 credentials. I know, brilliant. And today, I'm going to delve into one of the most important applications that we all use day to day. That is Microsoft Outlook. How does Microsoft Outlook work on a Mac computer? Well, without further ado, let's get stuck into the demo. The first part I'm going to show you is how to install your Microsoft 365 apps, including Outlook, on your MacBook. Let's go. Okay, firstly, we need to install our Microsoft 365 apps on the Mac. And there's a couple of ways that you can do it. Because you're using a Mac, you might be tempted to go to the App Store and search for Microsoft 365. Okay, and if you do that, you will see that the apps appear here. If we click on View, you can see the apps. You can simply click on Get, and those apps will install. As I said, this is the way that you're probably used to installing apps on your device. I would advise against this method, though. I would advise you to go to Microsoft365.com and install them from there. Now, the difference is quite subtle. It's really the way that these apps update on a regular basis. When you install them from Microsoft 365, something called Microsoft Auto Update is also installed, and it auto updates, as the name suggests, your applications. So if we go to here and click on Sign In, we can then enter your email address and then put in your password. Once you've done that, click Sign In. If you've got multi-factor authentication or passkeys set up on your Microsoft 365 account, you'll have to authenticate. Once you've signed in, you can see here there's a button called Install and More. Now, if that button isn't showing, it means that you don't have the right license on your Microsoft 365 account to allow the install of the apps. So you would have to speak to your system administrator. But for now, we're going to go onto here and click on Install Microsoft 365 Apps. And then we're going to go to Install Office. And the Office file will start to download. Okay, that's now downloaded. It's quite a big file. It's 2.7 gig, so it might take a while to download depending on your internet connection. We'll then get to this point here, and we can click on Continue. Continue. Agree to the license. Leave this as it is and click on Continue. Again, click on Install. It's now going to ask you for the admin password for the Mac. So I'll type this in now and then click on Install Software. Okay, just running through and installing. We'll get a lot of pop-ups here. Teams is installed, so it's saying Teams wants access to the microphone. We'll want to allow that. Okay, I'll just minimize that. That's auto popped up. You can see that Microsoft Auto Update has been installed as well. So this will control the update of your apps as new apps are released and new versions. Okay, that is now installed. And we'll move that installer to the bin. I don't need that anymore. And if I go to my Launchpad here, so I'll just OK that. There's the Microsoft Auto Update, initializing. I will just minimize that. So if I now go to my Launchpad, you can see that I've got my apps here. I've got OneDrive, I've got PowerPoint, and I've got Microsoft Excel. If I just move across, I've also got OneNote, Microsoft Teams, Microsoft Word, Outlook, and Microsoft Defender. So all our apps are now installed. Okay, we've now got our apps installed on the Mac computer. The next thing we want to do is look through some of these basic settings in Outlook, and I will give you my suggestions of how to configure them. Let's go. Okay, so let's configure our Outlook. Let me go to the Launchpad, and you can see that Outlook is here. So I'll launch that, and then I'm going to get a Welcome to Outlook screen. Now, this is quite straightforward. Once again, we type in our Microsoft 365 email address and click on Continue. We're then going to get a pop-up wanting our password, so we'll type that in here and click on Sign In. Again, it wants multi-factor authentication. If that's set up on the account, it should be. Okay, our Microsoft 365 account has been added. Now, what we can do at this stage is add another account if we want, but I'm just going to click on Personalise Now. Now, this is what I really like about using Outlook on the Mac. You don't get this option to personalize your Outlook when you're using Microsoft Outlook on a Windows device. So the first thing is we can choose light, we can choose dark, or we can go for the system. That's whatever mode the system has. For this tutorial, normally I would choose dark, but for this tutorial, we're going to go white, just so you can see it clearly. Plus, you can choose from a whole host of themes. If you don't just want standard themes, I just want the standard blue, I'm okay with that. Or I can bypass this altogether and click on Finish later. Click on Continue. And then it's going to talk about density. So do we want it laid out quite roomy, cozy, or compact? I'm going to stick to the default. Again, we've got a text display size. If you want to make that large or smaller, you can do. If I just move this out of the way, you can see how that works. Okay. Again, I'll just leave it as default. Click on Continue. And what about your reading pane? Do you like to have a reading pane in your Outlook? Well, you can choose to have it on the right-hand side, at the bottom, or not at all. I'm one of those people who doesn't like the reading pane. So I'll choose this one here. Click on Done. So then we've got our Outlook. So what I'm going to do is just make that a little bit bigger across my screen like this. Okay, let's just have a quick look around. So this is the new style Outlook. It looks nice and clean. You can see your toolbar along the top here, and you've also got more settings along the top, which we'll go into. But the first thing you're going to want to do is customize this toolbar. You only want the features in this toolbar that you use on a regular basis, okay? And to do that, you click on here, and you click on Customise Toolbar. Now you can see these start moving along the top here. Now, if there's one of these that you don't want, so I don't think you need the sync one, I can just drag this back in here and it takes it out of my top toolbar. And you can see if I want to add it back in, I simply drag that up here. Now, a feature that I use a lot in Outlook, and I'll show you in a moment, is the categories. So I'm going to drag the categorize into my top toolbar. I also think it's worth having reply in there, so I'll drag that up into here as well. And forward as well. So these are just quick access. What I'm going to move out of here is block. I don't use that very much, so I'll take that out of there. Again, as I said, you can add these back if you want to. If you're a OneNote user and you like to send emails to OneNote from Outlook, you can also drag that in there. Plus, you can share items to Teams. I'm going to leave that for now and click on Done. And you can see I've got my new style toolbar along the top. Now let's take a look at a few of the more general settings. If I go up to here and go to Outlook, you can see I can go into the settings here, which brings up this pop-up. First of all, we've got general settings. Now you'll recognize this screen from when we were setting up Outlook. This is where you can come back in and you can change it if you want. So we can click on Cozy, we can click on Compact, and it just changes how it looks. So you can do whatever you want to do with your Outlook. If I just go back now and click on Show All, it takes us back. We've got the accounts thing as well. So if we want to add some more email addresses, we can simply click on this plus icon here. And then we've got notifications and sounds. Now these settings are really important for me. The way I teach productivity in Microsoft 365, I encourage people not to have their Outlook open all day long. Instead, I encourage people to schedule email processing time. What we don't want is lots of sounds and pop-ups going off every time we receive an email. That is not productive. So I generally switch a lot of these settings off. I don't want sounds at all. So I deselect all of those. I don't mind the event reminders popping up with a sound, but apart from that, I switch everything off. Go back to Show All. Here we've got our categories. Now I'm going to go through those a little bit later. But here you can add new categories and you can also remove categories. Okay, let's go down here now to email. We've got a reading section here. I'll point out some of the important settings. Firstly, we've got focused inbox. So what focused inbox does, you can see here, look, if I come out of here, just minimize that, I've got focused and I've got other. So focused inbox, it kind of separates your inbox into two tabs. You've got focused and you've got other. Apparently, your most important email messages are on the focus tab and then the rest are on other. And it's kind of, they're out of the way. Again, the way I teach productivity in Microsoft 365, we don't want that switched on. So what I do is switch that off, and then I'm just going to get my standard inbox. Another setting that I don't like in Outlook is conversations. This is where you might get one email and you can click on the drop down and you'll get all the conversations listed with that one email. I find that a little bit confusing. You can use it if you want, but I like to switch it off. I'll switch these off and I'll switch those off. We've then got some quick actions we can do if we left swipe and we right swipe. So at the minute, if I left swipe, it will archive an email. Just here, open files in Microsoft 365 apps format wherever possible. That is worth switching on. And then we've got some quick actions. So where do these quick actions kick in? Again, if I minimize it, you can see, look, if I hover over email, these are the quick actions. So what do you want to be able to do really quickly? Okay, again, coming back in here, it's a bit like customizing the toolbar. You've got to add the quick actions that you're going to use on a regular basis. I'm not going to use pin, so I'll take that out. Archive, I will use all of the time. And we might use flag as well. So I'll keep those three. And again, then if I just click on here, you can see that that has kicked in. Just going back to this pop-up. Let's come out of here. Let's go into the composing now, and I'll show you a couple of settings that I like. You can do an undo send. So this is about cancelling a messages after you've sent it. Basically, what this does is delays the sending of emails. It's a reasonable feature. You might want to have that on. I don't tend to switch it on. I also like to show the CC by default and the BCC. So when I open a new email, those fields are showing. Another option at the bottom, if you want to open new messages and replies in a separate window, some people like that. Go back to here, signatures. So one of the first things you're going to want to do is create a signature. And what you do, there's one called standard here. I can click on edit and bring this up. Again, I can just write some text in here. I can change the font, which is fairly self-explanatory. And if I just click on these three little dots here, I've got a lot more options. So I can put a website address in, I can link it, I can put images in, and I can even put smiley emojis in. So there's a lot more options you can choose for your signature. Once you're happy with the signature, you can just simply save it. And then you might want to add your signature to all emails. So you simply click this on here, and that means that your signature will automatically be added to all of the emails. And then we've got roles. Now, I'm going to touch on that later in the video when I talk about categories. Then we've got junk email. So if you're fed up of receiving email from certain senders, you can simply type a domain or a full email address in there and it will get blocked. Likewise, you can, if something's getting trapped in spam all the time, you can add them into safe senders, okay? We've got some calendar features. So what's your work schedule? Outlook thinks you work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 9 till 5. That might be true. That might not be true. You might not work Fridays, so you can take that out of your work schedule altogether. You might work half days, so you can amend your calendar that way. Some calendar options. So at the moment, a Teams link is added to all calendar meetings, which in today's day and age, I think is a good idea. This is also a good feature as well. Shorten duration for all events. So what you can do here, we can click on here. We can end events early. So for a meeting less than 1 hour, we can stop that after 5, 8, or 10 minutes, okay? That might just reduce the time that you're on meetings. I'll come out of there. I won't change it. Okay, going back to here now. We've also got My Day. We've got some settings for My Day. So what is My Day? Well, if I just minimize this is My Day here. So we've got a little pop-out where you can see your calendar. Okay, we can drag events into here if we want to, and that will create a new meeting. So we can drag emails into there. We can add them on the fly like this, a new event. And also we can change it from agenda to day like that. Okay, so this is the day view. If we have it as agenda, it's just a list of all our appointments, which we have none. And if I click on here, settings, it brings me back to here. Okay, so we've got a few options there that we can change. Privacy, not a lot going on there. And then in search, this is the default search. So we're going to talk about that again later in the video where we use the Outlook search. So default, we are searching the current folder. I usually put this to current mailbox so it searches everything, okay? And again, you can include deleted items. So there you have it. There's the basic settings of Outlook on a Mac. Okay, we've now gone through the basic settings of how to configure Outlook on your Mac. Now it's time to up our game a little bit and talk about some advanced tips that you can use in Outlook. Now, all these tips I actually teach in my course about discovering Microsoft 365, but I'm going to give you a few of these in today's video. Firstly, we need to try and get on top of email. And one of those tips is to end every day with inbox 0. Now, I've created a simple process to doing this, whether you're using a Mac or whether you're using a Windows computer. But today, I'm going to show you the Mac version. Now, this process has been adapted from David Allen's Getting Things Done book. I know, great book. I did create a video all about this on my channel just a few weeks ago, but as I've said, that was dedicated towards Windows devices. Today is very different. So the process I've developed goes a little bit like this. Firstly, we need to create some categories in Outlook. We need to create a category called Next Actions, one called Reading, and one called Waiting For. Would you like me to show you? Let's go. Okay, we go to Outlook, we go to Settings, and we go to Categories. Now you can see I've got my categories set up already. I've got Next Actions, Reading, and Waiting For. To add a category, I simply click on there, I choose a name, and I give it a color, and I click on Create. It really is as simple as that. Okay, we've now created our categories, but how do we get to inbox 0? Well, firstly, you need to schedule email processing time throughout the day. I highly advise that you don't just sit there all day with your Outlook open. All this does is distract you every time a new email flies in. Instead, schedule 3 or 4 email processing times throughout the day. When you process email, you launch Outlook and you go through my process. What is this process? Well, you look through all of your emails. Firstly, if the email is junk, you delete it. Simple as that. Then you look for the next email. Now with the next email, you ask yourself this question: will this email take me 2 minutes or less to respond to? If the answer is it will take you less than 2 minutes, then what you do is you respond to that email there and then. You then archive the email away. What do I mean by this? Let me show you. Okay, so we're in Outlook. Pretend this email is something that I need to respond to. It's not, but we can pretend. What I would do is I would reply and I would put my response in. Something like that. And then I would send that email. Now I've sent that email, what do I do with it? Well, simple. I can go over to my quick actions here and I can click on archive. That email has disappeared. But where has it gone? We can see down here, I've gone archive folder. Now what you've got to pretend is that this archive folder is like a big filing cabinet. And what I do is I throw all my emails into this big archive. You might be thinking, well, what happens if I need to find one of these emails? Well, we use the search feature in Outlook, okay? We click on here and we click on these dots here. We then get quite a lot of options about how I'm going to search for my email. I've got lots of different things. So I can simply type in Dropbox and click on search. And you can see that all my Dropbox emails appear and you can see it shows me where it is. I can be really granular with the search as well. I can put keywords, subjects, all kinds of things. So that is what you do for emails that need a response. You respond to it and then you throw it in the archive folder. You then keep processing emails. What happens if you come across an email and you know it's going to take you longer than 2 minutes to process? Maybe someone's asking you to put together a sales presentation and you know it's going to take a few hours to do. How do you handle this with my email process? Well, it's simple. What you do is you categorize your email as next actions. In Outlook for the Mac, you then flag the email and then you move the email into the archive. When you flag the email, it automatically goes over to Microsoft To Do. That is Microsoft 365's task management system. All this might sound a bit confusing. Let me just show you. So let's pretend for a moment that this email here is a request for me to do something that takes longer than 2 minutes. Maybe it's a request for me to create a sales presentation or something like that. I know it's not, but let's just pretend. So how would I handle that? Well, I'd do a few things. Firstly, I would categorize this email with next actions because it's a next action that I need to plan. Secondly, I would add a flag to this email and I'll show you exactly what I mean in a moment. And then thirdly, I'd archive the email so it disappears out of my inbox. So how do I organize this task? Well, I've talked about flagging the email. What that does is move that email into my Microsoft To Do. What's Microsoft To Do? Well, Microsoft To Do is Microsoft's productivity task management application. You can see here in the App Store, it's a separate install, so you need to go to the App Store and install it. I've done it, it's here, okay? And I've got it open right down here. So when I launch that, this is Microsoft To Do. And what I can do is manage all of my tasks within this application. So you've noticed the setting here, flagged email. So what that is the task that I flagged earlier. I can go into this, I can change this if I want. So I can maybe change this to sales presentation. I can add a due date. I can refer back to the original email by clicking on there. I can add files. I can do what I want. But the key thing is, it's out of my Microsoft inbox and it's in a task management system. Now you might be thinking, well, how do I find that email if I need to refer back to it? Well, easy. I go to search. I click on here. I can then go to more options. I can search for category, which is next actions, and I can click search. And it's going to show me all of my next actions. How clever is that? Okay, on to the next part of the process. What about those emails when you're asking someone else to do a task? You're delegating something to them. Well, that's easy. You email them with the task, and then you categorize the email as waiting for, and then you archive the email away. Again, let me show you. Okay, so pretend this is a new email as well. I'm going to send this to my colleague. The subject is book a restaurant. I want Simon to book a restaurant. What I'm crucially going to do here is copy me in. I'm going to BCC me in to this email. Okay, I'll put the copy, and then I will send that email. Okay, I've got a copy of this email. So what I'm going to do now is open this email. I'm going to categorize this email as waiting for, because I'm waiting for a response. And then simply, I'm going to archive it away. Now, what I will do every week or every day, I recommend that you have a daily review of your Outlook. So you sit down, and at the end of the day, you look through all your categories. So at the end of the day, I'll come into here, and I will search the category of waiting for. And I'll look at all the emails that I'm waiting for. Do I need to follow up? Do I need to call Simon? You can easily decide what the next action is for the waiting for emails. Okay, here is my final tip for today for ultimate Outlook productivity on your Mac. I've no doubt that you receive a lot of emails. A lot of these might be newsletters that you're genuinely interested in. And a lot of your emails might be junk. But what happens when you gradually receive these emails during the day is, well, they can distract you. So I've developed an ultimate productivity hack, and it all revolves around using Outlook rules. Would you like me to show you? Okay, what we're going to do is go back into Outlook settings again, and I told you we'd talk about rules. So these are rules. These are really powerful things. What I'm going to do is choose new rule. I'm going to name the rule something like this. Then I've got to set a condition. Okay, so we're going to apply this rule if the subject or body includes the word unsubscribe. Okay, so most newsletters and most junk emails have the word unsubscribe in them somewhere. You rarely get any genuine emails from people that have the word unsubscribing. Okay, so that is my condition. So if we get an email that has that condition, what do we want to do? Well, the first thing we want to do is categorize that with reading. Okay, and we're going to add another action. We're going to move this email, so move to, select a folder, archive. Okay, so this email, it won't touch our inbox. It's not going to get our attention because it's going straight into the archive. What I'm also going to do is run this rule now. So click on save. Okay, I'll come out of there. I notice something disappeared. But what you're going to do, again, we're talking about this daily review again, or a weekly review. What you're going to do is you're going to go to search every day. We'll click on here, and we will review all the emails that have the category of reading, and we'll search for them. We've got one here, look, that had the word unsubscribing. Now, I tried this on my main company mailbox, and in 1 week, 400 emails were set with the reading tag. And the vast majority of these emails I could just delete straight away, but I could just do it all in one go. So that's my final tip for using Outlook on a Mac. Okay, so there is my video on Outlook for the Mac, plus some productivity tools. I hope you've enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing you again soon.